Hello, I'm Darla Jean again, and it's nice to see you again. I am looking forward to doing another video. This time I'm going to be doing it on painting coneflowers, purple ones, pink ones. They're kind of pink purple. Anyway, I really love them. I think they're beautiful, and I am looking forward to sharing my art with you. If you like it, don't forget, please subscribe to my page and like my page or my YouTube channel. And I'm really excited. What is your choice of drink tonight? Because mine is something yummy. So let's get started on this. And I am going to be painting a picture today of these coneflowers. It's going to be something like this. I already painted this one, so I'm going to paint it on a new paper, and I'm going to share with you how I'm going to do it. I'm going to let you know what paints I'm using as I use them, but I also will put them in the description box or run them on the screen. I'm using palette paper to put my paints on. I really like it. It's kind of glossy and it slides really nicely. And for right now, to spread my paint around on my canvas paper, that's what this is. A mixed media art book. You can do acrylic, watercolor, and pencil on it. And that's what I'm painting on with you guys. I'm starting to use this because I have so much canvas that I am filling up, and I'm not putting it on the walls or anything. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna start painting in this until there's something I want to put on my wall. So let's get a new paper out. I'm gonna do my background. I think I'm gonna do it a little bit brighter than what I did in this one. And I'm going to titanium white. I'm going to use a fairly amount of that. I think I'll put it right here so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to put out some chromium oxide green, hooker's green. Now you don't have to use all these colors I'm using. You could pick different colors of green if you prefer them. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you don't clean your tubes off good enough. You see how this is looking? That looks terrible. I can't get my cap to go back on because my tube around the edges are so caked up with paint. And so I need to fix this before my paint decides to dry up. And I don't want it to do that because, as you can see, it's golden, and we all know that golden paints are pretty much like having gold. So I need to get that fixed. I'm gonna start with that. Oh, you know what else I'm gonna put in there? It's some yellow. I'm going to use cadmium yellow light hue, and that way I can brighten it up in different spots and give it some different depths. Okay. I have my water. Dip your water in and get most of the water off. I'm going to dip into the white and the lighter colored green. I'm going to get a fair amount on my brush so that we get some good coverage. And so just do marks like this, and I'm not even gonna care that there's brush strokes in it. I don't care about any of that. I do really like that light background though, so I think this time, instead of doing it so dark, I'm gonna do it lighter. We're not trying to get anything except a green colored background in. It doesn't matter. I'm gonna get a little bit of water on that. It doesn't matter what shades of green. And if you don't want it to be green, you don't even have to have it to be green. Maybe this whole top right here is going to be your sky, and your flowers are going to be looking up towards the sky. And that's totally fine. Just had to get up to make sure that my microphone was on, because I have been known to forget to turn that microphone on and then realize that I just filmed a whole 15 minutes in silence talking to the wall. Now, there is one thing that I want to make sure is that I don't have the hard line of a different color. So you noticed I came back in with white right here just to cover up that hard line of green. So I don't mind if there's brush strokes in it, I just don't want a hard line. Like you see right here, this hard line right here. I actually kind of just want it to blend. But if you prefer for yours not to blend, then that is okay too. I'm just going to make it so that my light source is mostly coming from up here, coming down. So I even want to make it a little bit darker over on this side too. Not a whole lot, just a little. Okay, so now that this is all dry, let's get out the next colors that we are going to be using. I'm going to be making the coneflowers, the petals, with chromic magenta, and I'm going to be using a little bit of dioxin purple. And then we will also be using sap green again. Sap green, and for the cone, I'm going to use burnt umber, raw sienna, and yellow ochre. So I got some reference pictures here. I found this one on Pixabay, and so I'm going to use this as one of the flowers. the coneflowers, and I'm going to make them all similar in color. So these are all drastically different in color, but I'm going to make them all the same since they're going to be in the same area. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one. I'm not going to put the bees on it, although that would look really cute. And I'm going to use this one. We'll do the butterfly another time. So I'm going to start out with this. So get your paper towel and let's get started. And I'm going to start out with the cone. I'm going to put this one right about here. Okay, so my cone is going to start out with, let me show you what I'm doing. I dipped into my burnt umber and I'm just moving it around like this so that I can get the bristles all full of the color, but not like caked in. So this is all separated and stuff. So I'm gonna start out with a dabbing like this. This cone seems to be kind of oval. Okay, and then I'm gonna go into the burnt sienna and I'm gonna dab right next to the brown that I created. And I'm going to go on top of that, on the top of it, and leave the bottom part the way it is. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the yellow ochre and do the same thing right up next to that color. And it's going to be kind of like a highlight, and I'm going to do that one very lightly, so not a whole lot of it, just a little. A little bit of chromium magenta. Now this color is very, very strong, so you only need a little bit. Even that right there is too much. So we're just gonna put it with a lot of white so that it really isn't so intense of a color, because we're gonna use that dark color in a little while. So the first petal is coming off this corner. And right up next to it is another one. So if you do pressure like this, up, and then you press it hard to get more off, and then pull it out a little like this, and twist at the same time, you'll get that nice point on the end. So down and then harder, and pull it up and twist, and it comes out softly like that on the end. And dip in a little water if you need to. This one kind of is next to it, but it goes underneath of it. So there looks like there's another one right underneath right here too. So this one goes underneath, directly underneath right here. You can see the end of it, but you can see the actual whole flower of this, the whole petal of this one. Okay, and then right next to that is another hard and then soft. Twist and then softly pull up. And then this one on the end, it's like you can see the top of it, and then it kind of twists into this, into seeing the underneath part. So it comes to almost a line right here where you can see it, and you can see just the side of the petal, and then this is the top of the petal. And so it looks scary right now, but that's the underpainting of a painting, so that's normal. But I actually kind of want to make these petals a little bit longer. Just keep working at it till you have it the way you want it. There's one right under here. And just keep on shaping those petals however you want them to shape. Now it looks like they're all kind of running together right now, but it's going to change. We're going to make it so the values and the colors are different in a sec. So now I dipped into the purple, and I came down and I just did a tiny bit of purple, just the same thing as the magenta, only even less, because it's super intense. So I dipped into that, and I'm going to use that purple, and I mixed it with the pink and the white, and I am just using it as a shader and as those dark petals behind that are in the distance. And this one in the underneath, it's really dark too, and the reason is because it's in the shadow of the petal in front of it, on top of it, I mean. Light on it because it's in the it's in the sun, almost full sun right here. I'm gonna put one way back in the distance over here too, only because I made a boo-boo. See, if you make a little mistake, just put a petal over it, it's no big deal. No big deal at all. See, that's just gonna look like there's a petal on the back coming down behind it. And I'm okay with that. Even though it's not in the original picture, I'm okay with that. And don't even worry about getting it up in your brown, because we're going to make another layer right on top of it just so that we can hide where the petals come out at. Wipe the paint all completely off my brush the best I can without putting it in water, and then I'm going to get more white and I'm going to try to dry brush on here and blend some highlight in. This under part of this side is actually a darker color because it's the underneath part of the flower petal. Not all of it, but most of it you can see. I'm going to highlight where the curve comes around in white, so it really defines the fact that this is a petal turning around. Now don't go too far with the white on this petal that's underneath, because you want to be able to see that that is the petal that is underneath. And we do that by having that dark in there. My paint seems to be drying, so if your paint on your palette starts drying, just mist it with some water. I have this little water bottle. This is to mist down my snake cage on the inside, but it's going to double as misting my paints so they don't dry on me. Right up at the top where the petals actually come out of their cone, it's a little darker. So let's just put that in with that color we just made with the dark purple. It's called dioxin purple. And it's okay if you get a little too much, because we're going to go in and highlight more in a minute. And it doesn't have to be exactly like the picture. You just do it what feels good to you. Because you see, I'm doing it, but it's not exactly like the picture. At the same time, I'm fixing where I went too overboard in the top of the petals with the dark color. I need a little bit of pink, but I really need it to be like a very light pink, and come in and make some of these petals really light. You see what I'm doing? And this one is really light. And this one's really light. Through with some white on that one and put some white, not that much white. I'm gonna have to go back through with pink again because I did way too much white on that one. I feel like this one needs to be even bigger at the bottom. Now I'm going to take that round brush again that I switched from, and I'm going to go into the darkest green that I had, the sap green. Sounds like my dogs think somebody's here. They're mistaken. They're probably very sadly mistaken because they're wishing that we had company. And there's a stem right here, and I'm going to take that stem all the way to the bottom of the page. And it's going to get kind of wide all the way down. And don't worry if you get illage onto your petal, you can easily fix that. Okay? And that has a little bit of a mixed green in it, so I'm going to lighten that green that we just used a little bit, and I'm going to come back through on the edges and kind of just bring down some of the light. Just bring down some of that light. It's just a highlight. Okay. And if you feel like you've gotten too much, then you can just go back through and go over it a little just to dull it down. Because you don't really want it to be white, you just want it to be a bright green. So I like that. That looks good. Okay. And then let's take the bristly brush and start the next flower while that dries. Actually, we're going to do these little flower starts too, and for that we're going to make a light green. We're going to first put down a dark green, so just put a little bit of a lighter green in it, but mostly dark so that it has some depth. And we're going to start one right next to the petal there, and we'll just go over that petal. So there's one here. We're going to go back over that petal and fill it back in so it's behind there, but we're going to do this one right here, and we're going to go on a lighter color of green now on top of it. So get a little bit of white, add it into what you're already using, and go back on it lighter than a lighter touch than what you're doing right now, and then go back in white again and do that again, and then a very light touch again. And just do a little circle because that's what they look like. And then and they have these little spikes on them, so we're going to pull out this liner brush, and we're going to use that to take almost pure white. Just even, yeah, pure white is fine too. So we're going to take that and we're going to make these little lines of spikes, because these spikes, I believe, are the starts of a new flower, of a coneflower. Interesting that it comes out like that, right? It starts out like that as a little baby. And put these little spikes, little tiny ones right here. So if you haven't painted this and you're not like painting along while you're watching, put this in first and then put your petal over it. That will save you a trip. Okay, and then take green, dark green, the sap green that we had, or whatever dark green you're using, and make a stem for it. And this stem is going to kind of go like on the bottom like that, and it's going to go all the way down. You can even make it at a little angle. You know, flowers aren't all straight up and down like that. And if you need to go in and get it even darker, okay, and then go in with the light green that you made and go along the side of it to make some highlights. And that looks really good. And you can go in with your little white spikes and spike just right here so that it's covering the start of it and hiding that. Okay, that looks really good. So now let's make another one of those with that bristly brush that we're using. Go into green, all dark green, so we have somewhere to start with a depth, and there's going to be one. Oh, I'm not even in the picture. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't get that in the picture earlier. So now we're going to wash that brush off. I'm going to take this round brush that we were using and I'm going to put in the stems with that. I'm going to go back into that dark green and do that. Now let's take some of the lighter color we made and go over it a little bit for highlight. Just a little, you don't need a lot. Just needs a light touch. Spike, 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 spike. I don't know, maybe those aren't the flowers. Maybe those are weeds. Look what I just did. Am I worried? No. Everything's fixable in these paintings. I used to worry all the time. I'd be, oh no, I made this mistake. What am I gonna do? But then one of the artists that I'd be watching on YouTube would say, don't even worry about those mistakes that you make. And they would remind me that Bob Ross used to say they're happy little accidents. So now I've really come to realize they really are happy little accidents. Like that little petal I added right there. I like it. I think it looks good with them. And that was a happy little accident. Okay, that looks good. I like that. I think those match really good with what we're doing. All right. Let's move on to our next flower. Okay, so next we are going to paint this flower minus the butterfly, and we will do that butterfly someday, but right now we're going to focus on a coneflower. So this one is going to go right here in this corner. I'm kind of liking how it's falling off the edge here, so I'm going to put that aside and start working on that, which is going to be a fun one. So as usual, I'm going to start with that cone, and I'm going to dip into some of this brown, the darkest brown, and I'm going to put it right about here. And this cone is kind of taller than the other one. This one truly is the cone. It seems like this one up here isn't so tall. Okay. I'm going to try to keep myself focused on keeping this in the picture and not, and in focus too. So this one's kind of tall, and we're going to bring that one up. And I feel like it kind of comes down a little bit too, like down here. Just a tad. And I'm going to go now into the raw sienna, and I'm going to put that on everything but the very bottom of it. And now I'm going to go into the yellow ochre, put that on just almost just on the top, and comes down, blend in a little bit. Okay, and then just the pure yellow, just to give it a tiny more of a highlight on the top. And while we're at it here, I'm going to go into that brown, the darkest brown again. And I'm not washing off my brush or anything, but I'm going to go into this one over here and kind of go over what when we were covering the and a little bit of yellow, a highlight on that. Pure yellow, the cad yellow I'm trying to highlight the very top of that with. And I like that. I think that looks really good. Kind of lose that dark when I mess around like that. Get that dark. There we go. So wash that brush off really good. be vigorous in that water and get all that color off. Okay, and dry it off on your paper towel, and I'm going to grab the number 8 again. Okay, Simply Simmons. Okay, and I'm going to go into making a really, really very light pink. And I'm going to start down here, and this one was kind of really a big one. As a matter of fact, these ones I'm going to let them come off the page. This one's going to have an end because I think the petals will be way too big. Maybe. Yeah, they're pretty far down there. It doesn't show those petals in the pictures. It only just shows the top of them, the first half of them, I guess. And so I'm really going to be making up what they look like at the end. I almost just dipped right into my special drink. Okay, that wouldn't have been good because that's my favorite. Okay. And then there's another one right next to it. It's going to kind of go right on top of that one, almost right off the edge. Okay. And then this one right here comes up really close. I just love making these little coneflowers. They're so much fun. They just have little personalities. Each one of them is a little different. Okay, so this one in the back is really far back there, and it may be one that's coming from the other side of the flower. And we're not going to care about this little thing that we made already. We're not going to care about that because that's going to be kind of just in the distance. I could put that right there for you to see what I'm doing. It's a good idea. So I'm doing this one right here. And we don't know where it's going, we just know that it's in the distance. So eventually that's just going to be a darker one, and it's going to be kind of behind this one. This one's going to go right on top of it. And then this flower petal I should say, right here is going to go all the way down. This is just the first layer, so you can't really, I need a little bit more white in that, and well, I just need to make more of what I'm doing. So don't judge yourself on what it looks like right now, because the paintings always look terrible in the beginning. They go through the ugly stage. And my paintings seem to go through more ugly stage than others that I see on YouTube. I'm going to do this one right here, and this one goes down and kind of curls, it looks like right there. And it's also going to be darker eventually, and then this one comes out on top of it. This one actually comes on top of it too, and then this one comes out right off the page. There. Looks like there's one hidden back here too. There. Okay, so let's grab a little bit of that darker pink, make a little bit dark, and then let's try to get these ones that are way in the back. This one right here is way back there. As a matter of fact, it doesn't even, like, it needs to even look like it's farther back than I had put it, so we'll have to work on that. And then this one over here. You can't really see too much of what's going on in that, but grab a little water if you need it. You don't need to saturate it. You just need a little water just to get it to slide. And like I said, I'm still learning. I've been doing this for 7 years, but I haven't been doing it for a full 7 years. 9 years ago I adopted my son, and when he was a newborn baby, and so we've been, you know, I've gotten busy with that, and so I took months and months off, and then would start doing it again, and then take months and months off again. But I will tell you that when I took those months off and came back to doing it, I picked up where I left off, but I still had to like freshen up a lot because I was kind of it had been a while, so I had to learn more stuff again and practice more. But my son is 9 now, and so we have had more time, and also he is getting into enjoying painting too, so it's also been kind of making me want to pick it back up and do more, you know, so that I can teach him, and he can teach me, and you guys can teach me too. But mostly I watch the Art Sherpa. I really enjoy watching her, and she's one of my favorites. And there's one way back here I need to make a dark too. And I love Angela Anderson, and she is one of my favorites. And Painting with Jane, I enjoy watching her when she's on. So I watch them all pretty regularly, even when on the months that I take off and I'm not painting. I still watch those videos, those artists. They're fun, and I'm still learning if I'm just watching it. Sometimes I'll get my canvas out and I'll set it up, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and do some practicing, and it just sits there for weeks on end. Sometimes I'll put gesso on it. Now remember that I brought all these from different they were all different pictures off of Pixabay, so their lighting was different in all those pictures. So I'm gonna have to make sure that I focus that, remember that this side up here is coming down and it's where the light source is. So this side is going to be on all of them. They're going to be lighter on the left side of the picture. I just added a petal in here. That was on purpose because I actually see another petal back here. Maybe even 2 petals back there. Right here there's another petal. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, as you can see, the other one didn't even have as many petals. But I just wanted to add it. And I'm gonna make it even darker back there since it's back there behind the rest. This one's kind of on top of it, it looks like that. Okay, and I'm gonna grab some more of that. Yeah, I gotta let that dry. I'm gonna grab some more of that lighter pink and put it up on here, like that. And bring some more white into that because those ones are pretty light. And even the light sources on the other side, these are actually lighter because that's the way they were growing. So we're gonna make it a very light pink. Little bit here, and it's actually pretty light of a flower. And if you notice up here, just like in the other one, they get darker in their pigment. So we're going to let them be dark up there. Then the one underneath it needs to be a little darker right next to where it's overlapping. And if you need a little water, get a little water, because I do. And because this is our light source, I'm going to make it the brightest on this side, since the light source is coming from that side. But right up next to it, the other petal, I'm going to leave it pretty dark. You even go right into that magenta and just grab it and just totally line, very small line of color right there next to that. And then you can go back into your other color and just go right up next to it to give it a more definition that that is that dark, that is that petal, I mean. And you just keep doing it and keep messing with it until you feel like you got it, until it's how you want it. And go back into that white. Let's see. The same thing on this one down in here. We're going to make it really dark next to that petal that is overlapping it. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to make it really dark right in here because we know that that petal is being overlapped. Lighter. Dark in here. I'm gonna wipe that off my brush and get some white, and I'm gonna go and mix it in with pink, but I just want it to be mostly just white. I really want to define all this with white. Get it on there and smudge it out with my fingers so that It still looks dark up there, but like the white kind of blends it away. Another good thing to do if you're just not sure about your painting is to walk away from it for a while. Step back away from it and then come back in 15 or 20 or 30 minutes, however long it takes, the next day even, and look at it and say, okay, do I still think it's amazing, or do I still hate it, or whatever you've decided on that made you feel the way you felt. A lot of times you're just looking at it for so long. You're looking at it for so long that you just can't tell anymore. So walk away from it. My doggies are coming in to say hi. They hear me talking in here and they're going, is Mom crazy? Is she talking to herself? Or is she talking to me? Oh, we forgot about that little one that was kicking back there, chilling. Go through this with layer after layer of colors. And I'm just really have not barely dipped into my water. I'm mostly doing dry brushing, so. Okay, let's move on to the next flower. I think we're gonna do this one, but without the bees. And I think we're gonna do that up here. So this time I'm actually going to use some chalk, and I'm gonna chalk out the shape of the flower in the middle and the petals. And chalk is awesome to use because it just, when you put any water on it or the paint over it, it just blends right into it and you never know the chalk was there. So this one is kind of like this. So you can make all kinds of little mistakes and everything and rub it out and go over the top of it, whatever. I think it needs to be a little bit taller. Okay. And just go right over it with your paint and it will just, all those marks will disappear. Okay, so there's one here and there's one here. One that goes kind of right behind this one and then comes out right here. And same thing with this one. And this one comes underneath of it. Okay, and then we find this, we see the stem. apologize for my constant clearing the throat and cough. It's kind of unheard of to just get a regular cold these days, being that, you know, everybody that gets sick seems to only have that COVID, but believe it or not, I did not. I just had a regular cold. Thank goodness, right? One there, and these ones, even though in the picture they're on, I'm gonna put them right off to the side. One right in there. Okay, so that's my base of what I'm gonna be doing. And you know, I like to go back and work on these other ones too as I go through, so doing little adjustments here and there. So we're gonna start off with barely get it wet and then dip into the burnt umber. Got that in. Let's rinse off that brush. Vigorous. Make sure you do it vigorous in the water. Get it, just rub it all over the bottom of your water so you get all that paint off of that brush. Go into using this flat brush. We're going to dip it in the water, wipe most of the water off, and come in and pick up some magenta and white, and remember, we're going to make it a really light undercoating. And just go right over the top of this. That's perfectly fine because that's going to be in the background. And I feel like at this point, you know, you've made so many petals already. I've made so many petals. I don't really have to just look at the picture. I could put the petal on how I kind of want to put it on. So if I want one behind the other, then I'm going to do that. Like this one's going to go behind. And I already know how pretty much to do that. So if it doesn't end up looking just like the picture, I am totally fine with that. As a matter of fact, I really like making it pretty much my own. Even when I am following the tutorial of my favorite artists, I usually just end up making things the way I see it and just follow the guidelines of the techniques that they use. And that way, in the end, I feel like it's my own, and that they taught me how to do things a certain way, and maybe the idea of part of the picture was theirs, but part of the picture was my idea too. So, for instance, there was this really beautiful scene years ago that I painted of a lake, and it had dragonflies all over the lake. and they were just coming up all over. So it was one of Cinnamon Cooney, the Art Sherpa's paintings. And by the way, if you haven't checked her out, make sure you do, because she truly is an amazing artist, and she has inspired me so much to continue to learn to paint. And I really enjoy her her tutorials. So she did this beautiful painting of a dragonfly over a lake, and I added I didn't do all the dragonflies. I think I only did one dragonfly, and I added a blue herring in the water, and I was really proud of that. I really was proud of that painting, and I really felt like it was my painting, and that I was thankful for her for having a tutorial there to help me learn how to put the water in correctly and all that. But I just dipped into my water. I needed to get that a little bit more wet. But I was really happy that I went out and found blue herring and attempted to paint it on my own. And it may not have been perfect, but I gave that painting to my aunt, and she loved it. And I loved it, because I felt like I really put my own thought into it. And I encourage you guys to do the same thing. You know, like those bees that are on the original painting, you could go ahead and put those bees in there, or the butterfly. Or a ladybug would be beautiful crawling up one of these leaves here. And like I said, I continue to watch those tutorials. I continue to learn from I'm gonna get all the paint off my brush now and dip into the sap green. I continue to learn off all those tutorials, and I really enjoy them, and I watch them, and I still do the paintings. Okay, this might go over these petals a little, but I'm just going to go back in with those petals. I just kind of want to put them in there like that to indicate exactly where my stem is going to go. Now this sap green is very translucent, so we're going to have to go over it again. When it dries. Vigorously wash that off my brush and go back into my white and pink. And make some more petals. See, at this point, I'm just kind of like saying, okay, I want to put a petal here and I want to put a petal here. It's not even, I'm not even hardly looking at that picture anymore. I'm going to go back over this because it's dry and give it another coat. Remember this one over here, we were going to go and pull those leaves back in front of it. And you notice how your painting has dried darker than originally we wanted. So for me, I mean, maybe you want it that way and that's totally fine. But for me, I kind of want it to be lighter. So I'm going to go back through with an almost complete white on most of these leaves. If you make a little mistake like that, wash your brush off and go in and paint it off. Or take a wet paper towel. We can get that off right out. There we go. Or you could always just put another petal right over the top of it. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I kind of like this pulling down off the page but back on it. Okay. Now I'm going to work on lightening these other petals that I said I wanted to do. But I kind of want to dry brush them on, so That means I'm gonna wipe most of the paint and the water off of my brush and go back on with almost a dry brush and just pull up on those just from the bottom and mostly farther up, but try not to get your dark spots that are for shadow. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. If you like your petals to be darker, that's completely fine too. These cone flowers come in so many different shades, and like for instance the original painting on most of them were purple, and I may go into a little bit of purple too. They were like almost deep purple. They come in so many different colors: red, yellow, pink, purple. And I'm going to leave the one behind a little darker pink because we all know that that one's in the shadow. So that one is going to be darker. This one back here. I'm going to do the same thing with this one up here. Or you could always just put another petal right over the top of it. And I think that's what I'm going to do because I kind of like this pulling down off the page but back on it. Okay. Now I'm going to work on lightening these other petals that I said I wanted to do. But I kind of want to dry brush them on, so that means I'm gonna wipe most of the paint and the water off of my brush and go back on with almost a dry brush and just pull up on those just from the bottom and mostly farther up, but try not to get your dark spots that are for shadow. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. If you like your petals to be darker, that's completely fine too. These cone flowers come in so many different shades. And like for instance, the original painting on most of them were purple. And I may go into a little bit of purple too. They were like almost deep purple. They come in so many different colors. Red, yellow, pink, purple. And I'm going to leave the one behind a little darker pink because we all know that that one's in the shadow. So that one is going to be darker. This one back here. I'm going to do the same thing with this one up here. The funny thing about paint is that when it dries way darker, so you really need to make sure that you're doing the whole less is more kind of a thing. Dry brush a little bit of a darker pink again up here by the top of the petals. like that. That looks good. You can tell right here, you can't even see how much I have on there because I have so little, so. I really like this one. I love the colors that it's coming out to be with that white and that pink. And then if you just accidentally go overboard and put a little too much on there with one color, just go back through with another one, barely have anything on it, and go back over it, and it comes out really good. As you can see right here, I painted my nails in between filming. Unfortunately, they're already chipping. I'm going to do the same thing with the white on these ones up here. I'm going to start at the bottom because that's where my lightest point is going to be. And I'm going to dry brush it up. I must be way off in my own little world somewhere because I am being really quiet when I should be talking to you. It's just that painting relaxes me so much. And I'll tell you how I first got into it. I was about 8.5 years ago, when my son was just a couple months old, maybe 6 months old, I guess. I was watching YouTube, and I came across a Bob Ross painting, and he was, you know, happy little clouds and happy little trees and happy mistakes and all that, you know. Everybody knows that famous man. And anyway, I got so relaxed while watching him, I fell asleep. And I just like was so, I mean, what mommy would not love that when their baby is that age, you know? To just be able to fall asleep so easily. And he was so relaxing with the way he was talking. Soothing voice, I guess. Now, do you see right here, it's really wet, and I kind of accidentally went over it too soon and rubbed the paint off of it, so we're gonna have to let that dry and go back over it in a little bit. So I got so relaxed that I fell asleep watching him, and then I took a nice little nap, and then the next day I decided to watch a few more of his videos, and I was watching him, and he was saying, and you can too, painting and whatnot. Well, I had already had this conversation with my mother because my mom is a wonderful artist, and she had told me a few years earlier that I should try to do it too, paint, and I was like, no, I don't think I have that painting gene in me or whatever. And well, I listened to Bob Ross. And so I went to Walmart. I wasn't going to spend a whole lot of money on this because I was like, well, if it's, you know, not something I'm going to pursue, I don't want to put a bunch of money into it. So I went to Walmart and I got the cheapest paint I could. And I decided to try to start painting. And I started it on and off through the years, painting, while I was watching Bob Ross. And he was doing it in acrylics. I know he was doing it in oil, and I was like, well, I don't really want to get into the oils because of the smell and all that, and I didn't feel like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that. So I typed in oil paintings, or acrylic painting like oil or something like that, and I came up with this artist that was doing Bob Ross paintings, and his name was Clive 5 Art, and I started watching him, and that was the beginning of me learning to paint, was watching this Clive 5 Art. And then from there I found the Art Sherpa, and then from her I found Angela Anderson and Painting with Jane, and I watched all those over and over, so many of them. I was doing all these online tutorials trying to learn to paint better. And of course there was a big learning curve in the beginning, but it still is. I mean, I'm still learning. As a matter of fact, I just saw one from the Art Sherpa the other day that I want to try doing. And I'm really excited. It looked very simple, and it was birch trees. Of birch trees, so I thought, oh, I'm going to give it a try. First. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. And then we're going to find another one that I want to do. Is it this one? I think it was this one. But I also really like this one. You know what? I think I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to do this one instead. Because I like how it shows it in a different angle, so you see more of its petals. Want to see that? So we're going to do this one right here. And where am I going to put it on here? Should I put it up in this corner? Of course, it's not going to be that big. Maybe I'll put it up in this corner. I kind of want to leave this corner blank. And just have some empty space right there. They all kind of are coming up this way, so maybe I'll turn this one and go in the same direction. I think I will. Okay. And some of these are going to get a little bit covered, but that's okay. It looks more normal that way, natural. And this one is almost completely round because we're seeing it almost from the top of it. It's not that round, it still has a little bit of a flat. Okay, so I erased it and started doing them again because I didn't like where it was coming, the petals were coming from. I do see the stem coming right here, so I'm gonna put that in. Now most of the stem you don't see on the picture, but it helps me to know where I'm gonna put in the next petals. You're kind of going to have to really pay attention to where you're putting these ones down here because it gets kind of to where you can't see it as well, what you're doing. That one up here that we need to fix, this seems to be dry, so let's go back in. And I'm going to go over this whole circle here with that dark brown. Now there's the first part of the painting, and with those leaves, this one was a little bit harder to do than the other ones, but that's okay. Challenge is always good. So let's go back in over here and dry brush this pink, this light pink back on. Get you in the picture. Over another layer of the petals. So it's okay if you go into the brown, because we're going to go back over that brown too. Go even more over here. I just dipped into some water because I needed to get some wet on my brush. So if you don't forget to do that if you need to do that. This might just go ahead and end up being my favorite flower out of all of them. I really like it. I like it all spread out like that. You can see most of its petals. I think it's just going to take a lot of layers to go over the flowers that are already under it though. This so far has taken me a few days to record because I have a son on, my son is on distant learning and so I'm with him trying to help him, well, trying to help him stay focused pretty much. I know moms will understand how I'm feeling, but I have to stop recording and go help him. But he's got the next couple days off he's excited about. I don't mind it taking so long though, because I can take my time and I actually am really enjoying this. It's winter time right now. Well, it's actually still fall, but the rain is just coming so much lately. And it feels so good to just sit down and paint. This type of weather just gets me going. My favorite time of the year is fall. Base darker, and we'll go through it with some white again to soften that dark up there by the base or the top of the flower bud or flower petals. These two right here actually are super light though. So if you need to turn your paper around or your canvas around, you could do that too. Flip it any which way you need to get it comfortable. Make sure, oops, you can't even see me. this up so that I can get some dark on there, because I believe it's 2 leaves. Petals, I mean. I feel like these right in here need to have another layer, because that green underneath is really taking over. And you can see back there, so I'm just gonna go back through again. Okay, I really like the way this flower is looking. This has actually come to be my favorite out of all 4 of those. I really love it. So now we're gonna go back into this bristly brush, and we're gonna start fixing around these edges here and making sure that the flower is, the cone is got its low lights and its highlights. So let's go back into that dark brown. looks like there is a couple things that I did forget. Is I needed to highlight the stem with the dark green and a little bit of the medium green, the sap green and the chromium, was it the chromium, and then add a little bit of white in that so that you could get it to lighten up, and then just kind of go along the edges just a little bit here and there. You don't go in a straight line, just kind of keep it sporadic. Rub your finger on it so that you can get it to phase out a little, blend in or whatever. Okay, a couple of them that can be really light, and then most of it's gonna keep its dark. And only try to keep to one side doing that, because we'll have one side that's the shadow. Same thing on all of them. Just go in and kind of highlight in different spots. This one didn't get any, so we're gonna highlight in here. Okay. Gotta tell you, I am really impressed with our picture. This is so beautiful. I hope that you are impressed with your picture too. Let's see, what else did I think of doing? I feel like I kind of need to blend this one a little better down here. Okay. Oh, you know what I was thinking is that it could use some little leaves in between. Just tiny little ones. Don't go overboard, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Now you get to see the mess of my palette. Look at my palette. It's a huge mess, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to take the darkest green I have, and I'm going to, let's see, take you over to a spot that's not. Okay, and we're just going to go like this. Ready? Like that. Those are going to be little green leaves. Oh, it's not even focused. Okay, be little green leaves like this. I'll take this color just to show you, but we're going to use the green like this. Just going to make a little mark. Okay. Get a separate piece of paper or something before you try it, so you can practice. Okay, and you're not going to do it between all the petals, just some of them. I'm going to get a little bit more of that green out and do there. Because we do have them in the original picture. You can look right here. There's some in here. Pieces of it. Let's see in this one. See right in between here, there's little tiny petals right there of green. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's start with this one up here. I'm gonna tap on it and pull, and that's it. That's it. That's all we gotta do. We don't have a whole lot of them that we have to do that with, so I'm going to put 2 on that one. I mean, you don't have to do it between every one of them. Just gives it a kind of a little bit extra something. You see what I'm doing? I'm all the way zoomed in. Okay, let's do one down here, and one right here. Okay, I'm gonna put one right here. one in that little, on the little bud of whatever that is, a weed or whatever it is too. Okay, you want to put some on the stem, you could do that too. And then go into the lighter green and kind of give it some highlights. Not a lot, just a little. Even go into the white, put a tiny bit of white on that. Just on part of the leaf, not the whole thing. You know what, guys? I love it, and I think it's done. I really love it, and if you followed along with me, I think it's something that you could put on the canvas and put that right on your wall. I would. Wash out your brushes really good. Take a script liner. We're going to sign our name. Make sure you sign your name. This is your painting. You did it. I'm going to put mine right here in this corner. DJD 20. Let's zoom out and look at it. Wow, you guys, that's amazing. We did a good job. I really hope that you enjoyed painting this with me today. I know that I enjoyed it. It took longer than just one day, but I really love it, and I hope you love it too. Well, have a good day, and until next time, bye!